Welcome back to another episode of the Miami Heat Roundtable. I'm your host, Amir. We got Martel. You can find him at the Miami Heat Zone podcast. And we got Ernest. You can find him at Miami Heat Talk. Before we get into today's episode, make sure to go to all of our channels, hit the subscribe button. Also go to Trent's channel. He's on the Miami Heat Network. Go to Trent's channel. He's on his path to 5,000 subscribers. So is Ernest and Martel. I'm on my path to 2,000. So thank you guys so much for supporting our channels.
Yeah, buddy.
So, guys, excited to have the two of you on. Today, we all know that Team USA beat South Sudan, and Bam Adebayo looked like the best player out there. Again, I made a video, and I've seen others make videos talking about how Bam is one of the most important and crucial players on Team USA. There was an article that came out, or not an article, but Brian Windhorst on the Pat McAfee show was basically saying, hey, because Jason Tatum was crying because he didn't get a chance to play in the first game against Serbia. And they were saying, hey, maybe Bam might be benched for Jason Tatum, right? And were they so goddamn wrong, because Bam dominated today. He went 5 for 5 in the first half, had like 14 points. He had like 3 3-pointers. He was crushing it. So, Ernest, let's start off with you. What do you think about Bam's performance, and how excited are you for him to take all these lessons, these experiences, this confidence into next season with the Miami Heat?
Bro, in 21 minutes off the bench, 8 for 10, 18 points, 7 rebounds, an assist, a steal, a block. I mean, he's just constantly proving that he's not just a one-trick pony. He's not just a defensive guy. You know, his offense is taking a leap, and we've seen it taking more of a leap. I think last year you saw during the season where this team kind of became more Bam Adebayo's team. And then you saw what he did in the NBA Finals in 2023 against Nikola Jovic. He averaged about 23 points a game, 10 rebounds. He was Miami Heat's most consistent player in the finals. He was also our most consistent player in the playoffs against Boston in the first round where we got squashed. Bam Adebayo is showing a level of consistency that is unprecedented. And the great thing about Bam Adebayo, guys, he just turned 27 years old. And I think with the showing that he's done in Team USA, seeing how great he's played with guys like Anthony Davis as the power forward, I think it's time next season for Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat to go to cash in with Bam. Bam needs to be your number one focal point. He needs to be your number one option next year. I understand that Jimmy Butler, Terry Rozier, and Tyler Herro are all scorers, but Bam Adebayo is getting better. He's coming back from Team USA. And it's like I mentioned in our Dos Minutos episode, Amir, last Miami Heat player that came back from Team USA that had this level of like amazingness, Dwayne Wade in 2008. And you saw the season that he had when he came back. Bam is out there with some of the best players: LeBron, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, just to name a few. So he's going to come back, in my opinion, way better. And it's time to cash in for Bam.
Yeah.
So then, Ernest, real quick, because I also pose this question to everybody else. Do you think that Bam Adebayo is a superstar? Only because, think about it, he's averaging 20 and 10. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, but that's all he does. Negative, because without Bam Adebayo, we don't have a defense. I don't care what anyone says, even with Jimmy, Tyler.
Yep.
I mean, we had Kyle Lowry out of shape, overweight. Tyler, he was in and out of the lineup. Jimmy was missing multiple games. And we have a 6'5", 6'4" power forward. So to me, Bam Adebayo is definitely a superstar. He's averaging 20 and 10. He's carrying an elite defense. So we're either ranked top 5 or top 10 throughout these, multiple seasons. And he's doing that with undrafted guys. He's doing that with Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. When you look at all these other DPOYs like Marcus Smart, he's doing that with, Jaylen Brown and Tatum. Then you look at Rudy, he's doing that with Cat and with Anthony Edwards, and the list goes on. So do you think that Bam Adebayo is a superstar?
100%. 100%. And I even said this, Martel, a few years ago. I think it was during the 2022 season. I was like, if Bam Adebayo can get his offense to a Chris Bosh level, then he will be an MVP candidate. And the one thing that Bam Adebayo was not doing back in 2022 that he's doing now, hitting threes, man. And we all know threes are more than twos. And if Bam Adebayo, go ahead.
No, but this current roster doesn't allow him to do the things that you see him doing with Team USA. That's why people say he's trash. But once we improve the roster, he'll be able to now focus on it's like what you said, shooting threes, being more offensive minded. But we can't expect him to have 25 plus and 10, and then also play elite defense for 82 games.
Well, he could now, and I'll explain why. Why couldn't Bam Adebayo shoot threes? It's just like you said earlier, Martel, because you had power forwards that were 6'4" to 6'6". PJ Tucker, Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith. So I get it. This season, he has Nikola Jovic, he has Kevin Love, they brought back Thomas Bryant, and we drafted a 7-footer, KEL'EL WARE. So now Bam will be able to shoot threes because now you have a guy like Jovic who can rebound the hell out of the ball. Ware is another rebounder, and Kevin Love grabs his share of rebounds. And remember, Love didn't come into this team until 2023, mid-season. Jovic emerged the half point of last season. And that's when we started seeing Bam take these threes. Bam started getting more confident. He averaged 35% last year from the three-point line, and he started shooting them second half of the season. And in the second half of the year, he was averaging about 2 a game. So if Bam can get that to about 3 to 4 attempts a game, knock down 1 to 2 threes a game, I think Bam Adebayo can get his scoring to 24, 25 points a game. Because like you said, Marcel, he's already been hovering around 20. So he knocks down a few threes a game, you're going to see it differently. Now, why Bam doesn't get Defensive Player of the Year, back where you were mentioning earlier, 2 reasons. One, this dude does not average 2 to 3 blocks a game. So it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. If he has his stats higher on the steals and the blocks, maybe. But the NBA doesn't really care about the Miami Heat. That's the second reason. The NBA and all the journalists, because remember, it's not the NBA that votes. It's all these people that have ballots, journalists. They don't really know Miami Heat. They don't really watch Miami Heat. We're not the sexiest team in the NBA. We're not filled with drama. These journalists don't really watch us. So sometimes the only time they watch Bam Adebayo is a few times a year. So I don't think that these people really give the respect to Bam Adebayo because he plays for the Miami Heat. So if that was the case, why didn't Bam get it in 2022 when we were the first seed? Why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because
we were top 10 defense too. Also, like, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
But ESPN, the reason why, because ESPN all years were saying that we were bubble frauds in 2020 and that we weren't a real first seed, that Phoenix was a way better first seed than the Miami Heat. It's constant disrespect for Miami Heat players. The last time that everybody was riding the bandwagon, journalists, ESPN, everyone included, was back when LeBron was on this team. You guys remember the 27 game winning streak? You couldn't get the Heat off of ESPN. It was every day. Now, good luck. The only time ESPN really wanted the Heat on the channel, I don't know if you guys remember this, that fight that Spo and Jimmy had on the bench. ESPN was like, look at what happened. And then the next day, Spo was like, nah, we were just trying to figure out where we were going to get to dinner. And like right after that, ESPN stopped talking about it. So it's a mixture of both. But I'm telling you guys, I think Bam Adebayo is ready to take that next level next year. He's ready to take that leap. And I think him playing with Team USA, it's all the right pieces together. You're going to have a full training camp of Terry Rozier. Tyler's going to come back. We just need health, as we all have talked about. I'm not going to continue to say anything about that. But Bam, if Miami sets Bam as the focal point next season, I think he can possibly have an MVP year.
Yeah, I think he's going to grow for sure. I think he's definitely going to be more aggressive next season. I think Jimmy is going to pass that torch. It will be interesting to see, though, Jimmy, his effort during the regular season in this contract year, right? This will be the first time we're going to see Jimmy Butler in a contract year, but at this specific age, after he's been challenged by Pat Riley or whatever that quote was. But I think Jimmy has wanted to pass the baton, essentially, especially during the regular season. And when it comes to offense, I don't know how many more shots per game Bam is going to attempt. He's been averaging around 14 shots per game for the last 3 seasons. If you can get that up to like the 17 range and 18 range, be a little bit more aggressive, take more threes, to your point, Ernest, which can help elevate his points per game average, which we don't need him to average 25 points per game. But if you can go from whatever it was last season, 20 points per game or 19.8 to like 22, 23, that can definitely help us because we already know he's the best defensive player in the NBA.
Facts.
He's the best defensive anchor. He can help. He can 1 through 5. No one can guard 1 through 5. Unless your name is Giannis or Anthony Davis. There's 3 guys in the league that are that size that could do what Bam can do. And but those players have better players around him. To Martel's point, they have better.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Jesus.
Right? So I think Bam can take a leap next season because his confidence is growing. To your point, he's on Team USA once again. If he wins a goal, he's playing around these guys, becoming friends with Steph Curry's and the KDs of the world. Like, you are like the company you keep, right? Like, if you want to be successful, you got to be around successful people, and this will definitely help elevate Bam Adebayo. I think Jimmy's going to pass the torch inevitably because he's older. And he's going to say, hey, you carry us in the regular season. I'll try to play as much as I can and try to be Jimmy, hopefully, in a contract year. But Bam is going to have that torch passed to him. And it's going to be exciting to see him as our number one option. Not number one option on offense necessarily, but just like our number one captain, basically. So I'm excited for next season.
I mean, look, the great thing about this team, and I said it in my episode earlier today, but it's not just Bam, it's not just Jimmy. You have multiple players that on any given night can drop 30 on you. Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Terry Rozier. Let's not forget Jaime Jaquez. He's done it. Nikola Jovic, Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson, Alec Burks, Josh Richardson. We got a squad of players that on any given night, they can bust ass on you, bro. And then we got all these lower level players, these G League players, these undrafted players. You also drafted KEL'EL WARE, Pelé Larson. You got Kashad Johnson. You got Josh Christopher. These are guys that are going to be able to help you come January, December, February, where things are just, you're in game 50 and you just got these soaring injuries. I think that this Miami Heat season can potentially be similar to 2022. Because in 2022, Jimmy and Bam both were hampered with injury, and we stayed as the first seed. But that's because we had a collective team together. A lot of those people played, and it was a cohesive unit. And when I look at this roster, this is probably the best lineup roster possible that we've had since the 2022 season. Because in 2023 and last year, I think a lot of us saw holes, especially in the power forward position. So all of us were like, okay, this team can do it, but you got this problem, and you got this problem. I feel this roster, when you look at it on paper, it's like, damn. I mean, besides not having a floor general point guard, I mean, I think, this is a well-rounded roster.
Well, what are you expecting from Tyler Herro this upcoming
Tyler
season?
Herro, he needs to come off the bench. He needs to accept his bench role.
But we know that's not going to happen. So I'm saying, what are you expecting from him? Because, we obviously all want him traded, but that's not going to happen right now.
No, I don't think so.
I think that if Jimmy does, well, there you go.
That's the word. That's all we need from him. Be consistent. Be like you were. And I mean, don't get hurt and be consistent. Those are the two things. Like I love saying this. He's consistently inconsistent. He'll have a game where he shoots 6 for 22, and then he'll come back and shoot 13 for 15. Like, he is hot and cold. We need you to be more consistent. Up your field goal percentage, right? Like, stop shooting 43, 44%. Shoot 46, 47%. Get to the free throw line. Stop taking such tough shots. Stop getting hurt, which, I mean, sometimes for Luke's, but sometimes it's like, hey, you need to just figure out to play a formula of basketball where you don't get hurt, which is that floater game, right? That's how he hurt his ankle. It's like, get to the cup. Try to be a better 3-level scorer. Take a little bit of contact. Sometimes taking the contact can prevent you from injury. He's too much of a finesse player, but he could have a good year. I don't know. Like, honestly, like, he could have a bounce. You want to call it a bounce back? That's whenever the Heat lose a game, right? The Heat call it a bounce back game, but he could have a bounce back year. He didn't have a bad year, but I just think he needs to be consistent and healthy. That's it.
Health is the main thing. Health is the main thing. And I love what you said. Stop with those floaters. Floaters are so easy to get injured. And the thing is that he does it all the time. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. NBA players, they don't care. Like, if I know a player is going to throw these floaters all the time, I'm sure there's certain NBA players and it's like, when this MFer comes to the paint one more time, I'm just going to extend my foot and just leave it there. Because whatever, screw this guy. Like, it's like you said, Amir, he needs to, in my opinion, needs to work out. He needs to build some muscle, get hit, get to the paint, get hit, and get to the free throw line. He's a 90% free throw shooter. Why is he not shooting more free throws? It's because he's settling with these floaters. And a lot of times they go in, but a lot of times they miss. So I think it's like you said, he needs to be more consistent. He needs to be healthy. But what we need, I don't know if you guys saw it. Jeff Teague had a recent episode on his 580, 590 club, whatever it is. But he was talking about what Jimmy, like the idea that Jimmy had when he started on the team. He's like, okay, Wiggs is going to be our number 1 guy. Cat's going to be our number 2. I'm going to average around 18. Taj Gibson's going to get this. You're going to get this. I think Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, and Terry Rozier, I think the 4 of them need to sit down and they need to get on the same page. It's like none of this hot potato. You go, me go. We need to know every night who we're relying on. It needs to be the number 1 option and then the 3 number 2s. So in my opinion, it's depending on matchup, whoever's hot. You know, if the Heat are playing against the Nuggets, you can't expect Bam Adebayo to drop 40 points if he has to defend the Joker. So you're probably going to go with Tyler or Terry Rozier. But you'll have another game where Bam, you know, where you may be playing Detroit and Bam can dominate. It's really depending on matchup. But it's like you guys said, everybody just needs to be on the same page. We need to have these guys sit down and need to figure out exactly what's going to work. Is it Tyler coming off the bench? Is it Terry coming off the bench? Is it Jimmy Butler taking a step back and allowing everybody to do their own thing? Should Jimmy be more of the 3-and-D type of guy and allow Bam and Tyler and Terry to do their thing? I think the way that it'll work, there's one ball. 4 players all starting together that are score dominant players? No. One of those guys have to come off the bench, and it has to be Tyler. And if Tyler doesn't want to do it, we are going to have a problem in the season. And I still think we can win, but it's going to be way harder because who's going to be the 6th man? Jaime? Great. But Jaime's a Swiss Army knife. You need your 6th man to be a threatening scorer off the bench like Jamal Crawford. That's Tyler Herro.
Yeah, I love how you said, though, the 4 are top 4 big 4 guys. They need to figure it out and identify the roles. And again, it's going to be dependent on matchup, right? Every night could change. Depends on who's banged up because players play with injuries throughout the season. So I love that you said that, but also it's figuring it out within the first 5 minutes of the first quarter because we're going to have different rotations. We're a deep-ass team. And also we have the best coach in basketball. He's going to stagger them. Like you can't play. Sorry. Like if Terry and Tyler for the foreseeable future beginning of the season are going to play together and start together, Spo is still going to have to stagger them because their strengths are having the ball in their hands, right? We're trying to get Tyler to do 2 things. Play a little more off ball because Terry is a better on ball player than off ball. And Tyler, your catch and shoot percentage last season was like 43%. Like you were amazing off ball catch and shoot. Just spread the floor. Let Bam and Jimmy operate in the paint. Let Terry have the avenue to obviously get to the rim because he's a better rim finisher than you are. He could also spread the floor. So I think Tyler needs to play a little more off ball or come off the bench, right? And he's going to stagger the 2 after the first 5 minutes of that first quarter. He's a mad scientist. He's going to tinker with so many different lineups.
Yep.
And Martel, I want to talk about the depth that Ernest mentioned earlier, which was supposed to be an asset of ours last season, which it wasn't. It's something that kept us afloat where we if we weren't a deep team and didn't have Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, Kevin Love, etc., whoever off the bench, Duncan Robinson, we would have been a 10 seed. We would have been 11 seed perhaps, right? But we had the depth, which kept us in that 7 to 8 range. So we seem to be even deeper now because we addressed the needs that we needed that Ernest mentioned earlier with KEL'EL WARE, with size, functional size. So we have KEL'EL WARE, we have Pele Larson now, we have the undrafted guys, we have Alec Burks, we have a logjam at the shooting guard, like Trent mentioned, in our episode yesterday on the roundtable. So what are your thoughts on that, on our depth? And how do you think Spo can stagger and tinker with these lineups to make us more effective? What does that 9-man rotation look like in your opinion to start off the year?
Bro, but Spo's gonna have to figure something out because Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler, we've been together way too long for this not to work. You know what I mean? I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's listen, I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, but we've been injured. I get that, but we've been together way too long. And then also too, in terms of depth, Thomas Bryant has to play. We already know that we want, KEL'EL WARE to play and whatnot, but Kevin Love's gonna have minutes here and there, but he's a lot older now, so he's not gonna play for more than half of the season. I'm looking at Thomas Bryant for relief minutes. I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh, but he's trash. Bam Adebayo cannot continue to play pretty much 82 games with the way he's playing. You're gonna run him into the ground. Will KEL'EL WARE have spot minutes throughout the regular season? I'm sure he will, but I'm not gonna go into this regular season thinking that everything's going to go right. This all starts with Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, Terry. That's where all the money at. And Duncan. That's where all the money at. That's where I'm looking at. Spo's going to have to figure out how is this going to work on the court, stagger people, who plays well with who. Guys like Josh Richardson and all those dudes and Burks, they're good. But once again, it starts with our main guys. I think Jaime for sure. Jaime's taking a leap. I mean, just the way that he's been looking, he's been working on his body. He did say that he wants to improve in terms of his three-point shooting and being more of a lockdown defender. If we can get that, wow, I think Jaime Jaquez Jr., you can really now count him as a very big piece to help this Miami Heat team. Because unfortunately, I know we want to talk about all these other things, but it's almost as that all those things have to go right for this Miami Heat team to win. I just think that only parts of it, if Spo could, once again, play Thomas Bryant or just play somebody behind Bam for the spot minutes for relief minutes, Jaime Jaquez Jr. And then I'm also looking at Jovic because as he's getting older, as he's been in the system now for two more years now, I'm expecting something from him. I'm not saying he needs to be like an all-star averaging 20 and 10 or anything, but the rebounding for his size, he needs to be a better rebounder. And I want to see his offensive game be a little bit more efficient in terms of not just the corner threes. You know what I mean? He's a 6'10" guy that can handle. I'm looking at Jovic to take a leap next to Bam because we're going to need it. We didn't make a trade. We didn't make any huge moves. So Jaime's definitely going to bring it. But to me, I'm looking at Thomas Bryant. I'm looking at Spo. And I'm looking at Nikola Jovic. Where is Nikola Jovic right now as an NBA player? I see what he's doing overseas. But what is he doing in the NBA?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up about Jaime. It's a good point because, again, he did mention he does want to improve. He wants to become a better three-level scorer. We all know he has the great footwork, the post-up moves. He has a little bit of a mid-range. He's not bad at threes, but he needs to improve all around. But he said the right thing. Defensively, that's where I need to, improve on. That's music to Spo's ears. But I think even though Jaime is our Swiss Army knife, Ernest, off the bench, he's someone we could showcase because we know what Alec Burks is going to give you. He's not going to be consistent every night where he's going to be cooking. He's a microwave scorer. One night he can get you 15 off the bench. The next day he'll get you 3. One night he'll get you 20. One day he'll get you 6. Josh Richardson, we know he's going to get you consistently probably 10 points per game. He's a two-way player. He can hit the open 3. He can hit that little mid-range shot. He's going to try hard on defense. Duncan, we know what he's going to be doing, spreading the floor. I think Jaime is what we need to do is showcase him as like our sixth man. We're running plays for you this season. We didn't run many plays for him last season because we ran plays for Jimmy and Bam and Tyler and whoever. So I think we could showcase him. And he played with who on the summer league? KEL'EL WARE. Why did he want to play in the summer league? I want to play with Pele Larson and KEL'EL WARE to get familiar with guys in the second unit that I know are going to play with.
That's a leader.
Right? So I think Jaime and KEL'EL can lead that team. And then you have the filler spots with, Duncan's going to make a little bit, right? He could be kind of a de facto now point guard because he learned that skill set with Josh Richardson and Alec Burks, who can hit shots for you, play defense. And then to your point, Thomas Bryant probably will play more than Kevin Love because he's 26, right? He'll be your big guy bruiser down low. So I'm excited, guys.
Terry's not off the hook either. I'm going to need him to cook this season. I'm going to need him to go off.
I think he will because he's going to have a full training camp with this team. And it goes by what I say. I'm going to love this year because, look, you traded for Terry during the midseason, but now you're going to have a training camp. And now I think they're going to have to they're going to figure out, okay, this is what we can do. This is what works. You're trying to figure it out. Terry got traded. 2 games of the Terry's trade, Tyler gets hurt. Then Tyler comes back, Terry gets hurt. They never got that chance to acclimate. So why do I love the 2025 season? Really love it. It's the final year of this whole run it back mentality. So we're finally going to get our answer. But then also you're going to have this full flexibility. You're going to have a different team. It's going to be different than we've had the last few years. So I think the possibility is better. And to give you guys what I think my rotation will be, I don't think Tyler should start. And we have a lot of options at the shooting guard. The shooting guard position, in my opinion, is where we have the biggest hole, not because we don't have players, but it's who's the right fit next to Terry Rozier. Is it Tyler Herro? We don't think so. Can it be Haywood Highsmith, like I've mentioned, a defensive-minded starting shooting guard who can space the floor with his three-point shot? Maybe it's Duncan Robinson, because you guys were mentioning that, Tyler Herro, his spot and shooting is amazing, but he doesn't want to do it. That's what Duncan does, but he's also evolved his game with his passing ability. So now you'll have a starting lineup where you can even have Jovic control as point guard sometimes. Everybody can handle the ball. But then, to what your guys' point, maybe you can put Jaime as the starting shooting guard because he's working on his three-point shot and he's working on his defense. I don't think that's the case. I like Jaime Hopkins coming off the bench with Tyler Herro. You have two guys that are six men, two guys that can give you 25 to 30 minutes and that can dominate the floor. You know Jimmy's not going to play 82. For every game that Jimmy missed, you plug Jaime in there. Yep. So I think you like a good starting rotation is screw it. Throw Duncan in there as your starting shooting guard with Terry Rozier, Jimmy Butler, Jovic, and Bam. I prefer KEL'EL WARE and Bam. I want Bam as the power forward because Bam as the power forward will allow him to do his game. So in my opinion, KEL'EL WARE, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier. You have Tyler as a six man, Jaime as the Swiss Army knife, Jovic who comes off the bench for either of the big men, and as your ninth man, oh my God, I'm brain farting. I forgot his
Burks.
No,
Thomas
not
Bryant.
Burks. Not Burks. There's Jaime. Jovic, Jaquez, Tyler Herro, and man, I'm brain farting, and I know somebody's gonna mention it in the comments.
Jay Rich, Alec Burks.
No, not
Thomas
Alec Burks.
Bryant, Kevin Love.
No.
Rashad Pele.
You know what, guys? I'm brain farting right now. I had the rotation in my head. I know it's Duncan, Terry. I gave you guys three names. You can throw any of them. You can throw in Alec Burke. You can throw Kevin Love. I mean, really, honestly, you know, we can do a 9-man rotation of almost anybody on this roster. So I think it's going to work. I think next season's going to be a lot better.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on. Martel, any last words before we go?
Make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and thank you for all the support.
And that is enough said. Yeah, buddy. Let's go.